Hello YouTube, I'm back again with another video. It's been a while since I've been doing a deck profile, but I want to be able to showcase you guys something unique. As you can tell by the name of the deck, it's a token deck, and some of the card choices, they're iffy to you guys, but for me, it's up to personal preference. I want to show you my take on this deck and how I utilize it. And although it may seem confusing, but once I explain the cards, you guys will have a better understanding, and then you could take the time to process and realize this deck is not as bad as it seems. So, starting off, we're going into 3 Clock Wyvern. You could choose to play Girsu instead, but the issue I have with Girsu is that you only get the token unless you control no other monsters, and it doesn't happen when it's normal or special summon. Although it's better than Clock Wyvern, you get the token regardless when it's normal or special summoned. And it will come in very handy as you'll see the other cards that I'm utilizing in this deck. Max out is a Parallel Exceed, simply because the fact I can get 2 special summons with this card. And people should already know by now it's just heavily reliant on link summoning, on top of helping you going to potential rank 4 plays. 2 Cosmic Compass, people would differ whether that this card should not even be in the main deck, but based on how I understand the card, based on the play testing and the just by looking into this card and just being able to take the time to adjust with it, this card can come up as very handy late game. It doesn't help you going first, but it's always best to play 2 because, like, yeah, there is a lot of negates in Yu-Gi-Oh! They have a chance to pretty much stop Cosmic Compass from being able to summon special summon the tokens. But in case I already have a Linkuriboh in my grave, some people don't realize that if I use Cosmic Compass effect and my opponent chains with a hand trap or with a monster on the field, I can chain with Linkuriboh, tributing the Cosmic Compass, special summoning Linkuriboh, and then the effect of Cosmic Compass will be able to resolve, allowing me to summon all the tokens that like up to the number of monsters that my opponent controls. And we're obviously playing the Danger package. 3 Bigfoot because he's the strongest monster in the package, and just being able to destroy a face-up card is very handy. And then just being able to potentially kill your opponent later in the game. 3 Nessie, which is obviously mandatory because it lets you get access to your other danger monsters, on top of being able to special summon stuff and draw a card along with the other dangers. Thunderbolt, normally I would just play 1, but since we're playing trading, it does really help. It's a factor destroy card. Isn't always, it can be situational, but there are times where you wouldn't be able to destroy a set card because your opponent heavily relies on like just summoning more monsters and playing more floodgates, and its effect becomes really pointless if they have nothing set on the field, because the only time they do have a set card, unless they manage to search it or happens to be a quick play. So if you guys get what I mean. But for the last remaining dangers that are limited, Jackalope and Tsuchinoko, wish I could play them at 3, but with the ban list you pretty much have no choice because they do way better compared to the other 2 dangers that I'm playing. So if I were to change the lineup, I would probably swap 2 Thunderbird for 2 more Jackalope, and swap 2 more Bigfoot for 2 more Tsuchinoko. Interesting tech card that I'm playing is Destiny Hero Plasma. It may not always come up as often in other decks, but with this deck you can easily be able to manage to summon him with a lot more ease. So this card can be very useful because sure, you have to give up 3 monsters, but like a lot of times you can manage summon a lot of tokens with this deck, which this deck is capable of. And not only does the negation only apply to your opponent, it ensures that you can pretty much equip a monster that it targets on your opponent's side of the field, and he gains attack equal to the monster that is equipped to him. So the best option, if like the least that you want to play is at least 2, because you can't really search him. So 2, simply because he not only is he a trading target, he's also a lure target. So that in itself makes him very useful. And his first effect may not come up. You may not be able to summon him as often, but when you do, he makes a huge difference. And our last monster is Phantom Skyblaster. Like I said, if he was at 3, I would definitely replace 2 Cosmic Compass for the last 2 copies of Skyblaster. He pretty much allows you to just pretty much summon as many tokens on the field, depending on the number of monsters on the field that you control, and which always helps regardless whether you're going first or second, because it's not a situation that's really easy. It's not that restrictive. It ensures that your link plays are always going to be top priority. And besides that, we're going to the spells. 3 Allure for more consistency. Forbidden Droplet to stop my opponent from using their Omni negates, and then preventing them from disrupting my plays. 3 Scapegoats. People may be confused, but this is the theme of the deck, so you pretty much have to play 3 Scapegoat, because you are using tokens in order to help you gain advantage. And although you can't be able to link summon the turn that they're summoned, but you can always use it to protect your life points on top of it being a quick play. So there are times that in itself can be very useful, and then you can always wait for yourself to come for another potential link play, and then giving you the chance to possibly retaliate against your opponent. Another token spell that we're playing is Hornet Drone. Although this is mainly for Sky Strikers, being able to get an additional special summon is always good regardless, because the odds of you going to your strong monsters are a lot more easier, and it gets you that much closer to your victory. Double trade it, and you only play 2, because this card can be a brick if you're playing with 3, but in case you have any level 8, just helps you easily draw 2 cards, so by discarding that 1 monster. 3 triple tactics talents, in case your opponent decides to disrupt your plays during your turn with monster effects. You always have 3 options, whether you want to draw 2 cards, gain control of a monster your opponent controls, and be able to attack with it, potentially going to an OTK, or looking into your opponent's card and shuffling it into their deck. And for our revival spells, which are our last 3, Monster Reborn and 2 War Legacy Succession. Side deck is optimal for you guys, so we're just going to go straight to the extra deck. 3 Appaloosa for more negates and disrupt your opponent during their turn. IP to potentially go into a link play during your opponent's main phase and disrupt their plays again. The Nightmare package, I don't need to explain too much. We have Cerberus, Phoenix, Unicorn. Monsters that you can easily go into are Link Spider, since we're playing tokens. The tokens are treated as normal monsters, since they do not exist as effect monsters. Linkuriboh, since we have a lot of access to a lot of level 1 monsters, whether they are monsters or tokens, and they have the option to pretty much get into your Linkuriboh as much as possible, just summoning out certain monsters based on whether it's your monsters that can summon level 1 tokens, or your Scapegoat, Drone, whatever you have, or if you distribute Cosmic Compass instead, to be able to, if he gets this effect gets negated, just chain away, tributing Cosmic Compass, and then its effect will resolve, like I said before. Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax, because in this deck is very easier, since this is a link spam deck, and it is really that easy based on how you play this deck. And if you make sure to do it correctly, you don't have to worry about misplaying. So this will always come in handy regardless, because you need a monster that can avoid being targeted by card effects, on top of being able to outmatch any monster that it battles. Security Dragon. Since it's a very generic link monster, if it's co-linked, you can return a monster your opponent controls to the hand. Access Code Talker here happens to be a great game changer. Being able to gain 1,000 attack for the monster that it was used to link summon it based on the number of link markers that have, or its link equal to its link rating, and they cannot respond when you activate access code's effect. Just being able to ensure that your opponent cannot put a stop to this monster. Blackluster Soldier of Chaos. Black Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. Normally, Link 3s are not that popular in Yu-Gi-Oh, but with this guy is that you can easily summon him out, and then considering a lot of our danger level 7 or 8, just making sure that he cannot be targeted by card effects and cannot be destroyed by them, as well as if he destroys a monster, you can banish one card on the field, and if you do either, you can choose one of them, which is either he gains 1500 attack, or he can make a second attack during the battle phase of your next turn. Borosword Dragon, for you want to go into your OTK as quickly as possible and just be able to outmatch any monster, but unfortunately isn't anywhere near Avramax's level of being the strongest monster, but can always take advantage of the pretty much 90% of the monsters and being able to gain that much attack, and then going to second attack. If you either have a face-up monster that's an attack that can go into defense, you switch it, and then he can go into a second attack with the attack he already gained based depending on the monster that I battled, or if he hasn't battled a monster, you can use it then on the second attack. Mirage, just in case you want to go into another Link 1, because being able to tribute one of your Link monsters, being able to tribute one of your monsters that you use to go into your Link summons really helps, because it's you're just basically adding more monsters to your fields and just finding ways to retrieve them as well. And just going into more Link monsters helps depending on the number of Link monsters you need in order to Link summon into certain Link monsters, if you guys get what I mean. Dark, the Dark Charmer Gloomy, in case your opponent has any really powerful monsters, and since we're playing a good amount of dark monsters, I can guarantee you there's a lot of powerful dark monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh, so I always feel like just having him in extra will always come in handy. And that's how Yu-Gi-Oh is, because it's about being aware of what they have in the extra, and monsters that are dark tend to be the strongest monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh so far, and are making a heavy impact in this game and the meta. Our last extra deck monster that we're playing as a Link monster is Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. You can pretty much abuse this card using IP, because IP lets you Link summon during your opponent's turn. Or if they have a monster that is either unaffected, or you just can't seem to get rid of, even though you have to get rid of a lot of monsters, it will always come in handy, because not only are you able to get rid of your opponent's monster, you managed to summon a monster with ease, and then they didn't be able to disrupt your card. They didn't get the chance to activate its effect. They didn't be able to. They weren't sent by certain of. They didn't have a requirement where they had to be sent to the grave, but whether destroyed by battle or card effect, or they did not have to negate the effect of a monster extra deck in order to summon them. But you don't have to really try to have a monster extra deck to summon her. So it can be pretty much monsters you already have in the field that were summoned from the main deck, graveyard, banish zone, whatever, and then it's just regardless if you know your opponent has a monster you pretty much cannot outmatch. Avramax is a prime example. Anything that's just simply unaffected, this card will always be there to help, and it just always makes a huge impact, because it's it'll catch your opponent off guard, and they don't realize that this card at the end of the day can pretty much can pretty much seal the turn and prevent your opponent from special summoning monsters from the grave. And when it's link summoned, cards that already monsters that already face up on your opponent's field are negated. So they can't. It's gonna be they're gonna have a hard time putting a stop to this card. And there's no way they can stop the summon of this card the moment you link summon using your opponent's monsters. So they have no interaction. They have no way of stopping it because it's gonna happen regardless. Because it may be an effect, but it's a summoning condition. That's what people know. When it comes to summoning conditions, it catches opponents off guard, and that's where people get confused how they can't respond, because it is simply a requirement in how to summon this card. And that's where people need to be aware that this card, although it does not see much play, can come in very clutch. And again, hope you guys enjoy the video. Be sure to check for more upcoming content late in the future. Be sure to check your notifications, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.